We're going to go ahead and try this stream here. I don't know what's going on, but YouTube's being glitchy. Let me know if you guys can see the screen, and we'll keep going with this. The first clue that I got that we were going to have problems today is you can see the concurrent viewers here has been stuck at 3 viewers for pretty much the last half hour as I'm trying to work through some of this. So let me know on your end how many people are tuning into the show, and then we can go ahead and get started after I confirm that we are in fact live. Okay, Tom says we're live. Okay, good. And you guys can see the screen and everything. So let's go ahead and get into the show today. I woke up today on 3/23 to a comment from one of you guys about a tornado outbreak that happened yesterday on 3/22. And I got chills because it appears as though this may be some kind of signal that judgment is coming to America. And I'll tell you why I say that. Because the warning came in the form of a spiral portal, a pillar of cloud, a tornado, a tempest. And of all the places that it could have happened, it happened in a specific city that we've been talking about at length over the past several weeks. For those of you that have tuned into the channel, you know that we've been talking about New Orleans frontwards, backwards, and sideways. We were talking about Interview with the Vampire. And we were talking about the fires of 1788 in New Orleans, as well as Angelina Jolie and voodoo. Now, why do I think that this could be some kind of signal or some kind of judgment? Well, because our entire reality and how the enemy uses his deception is through voodoo, Hollywood voodoo. We were talking all about this, weren't we? And here we have some destructive forces running through this very area that we're talking about. Now, the odds of this are probably very narrow. Apparently, only one person died, but these things are foreshadowings. Let's play a little bit of this tornado. This is crazy.
There it is. You can see it. Okay, folks, get to your safe place. We've got a definite tornado that is moving northeast. Looks like it's in the lower 9.
Can we move that camera and track it as it goes?
There we are. So it's really racing. You can see some rotation around the main tornado. This looks like a wedge tornado. Now maybe lifting a little bit. Another spinning around it. Folks, this is something I hoped I would never see. That EF3 that we had February 7th, 2017 caused so much damage.
Right over New Orleans East?
Right. Let's go to our storm tracker, and I want to see the reflectivity, have them side by side if I could.
So obviously that lady is very troubled, and there's that because as the tornado ripped through, and
for President Biden's
now everyone's reporting on it, and I'm sure that there'll be more destruction and damage as we begin to get more news coming out of this. This happened last night on 3/22, about 8:55 p.m., and we're just hearing reports of this now. So crazy times we're living in, isn't it? When there are very evil places on this planet, and yes, the devil will balance that with a little bit of beauty to attract people to it, to get people, attracted to it. Places like Las Vegas, places like some of these other places. But at the end of the day, deep down in your heart, we know that some of these places are evil. And why would people want to live in some of these cities? There is a precedent for evil in cities in the Bible. Many times this has happened. And God told people to get out of those cities, and there was judgment. Almost every time there was a prophet in the Bible that talked about some of these cities, that's what the subject was the cities and getting out of the cities. And so what makes us think that something like this won't happen today? And of course it does. So let me go into the chat here, make sure we're okay. So some of you had to refresh. Okay, it's so crazy. Look at this. There's something going on YouTube, some kind of glitch. I hope this isn't the cyber attack that they were talking about was going to happen. I'm sure they'll blame it on this. They'll blame it on the cyber attack. But we all know what this really is. Okay? We all know who's really doing the cyber attack. Forces at work that don't want the truth to get out, not just on my end and in this channel, but across the board as the truth begins to come out about some of these things, some of the true history of what's going on in the world. People start talking about it, and the elite controllers do not want to let that happen. So they'll pose as like a cyber attack so that it'll throw everybody off the trail and we cannot communicate. So some of you don't have sound. I would recommend refreshing. Let's say, if you don't have sound, refresh please. That usually helps. I had to reboot my entire computer to even get this to work. And here we are, and it's still glitching out. As you can see, concurrent viewers is sitting at 3, even though there's several hundred of you in the chat. So let's keep going. Let's get into this film, Black Crab. Now, I started watching this as I do with most films, and at first, my first pass through, I don't really see anything of significance. And then I'm kind of on the fence about whether or not I should actually do a decode on it. And then I sleep on it, and sure enough, things start emerging. God's like, what about that scene? What about this scene? And that's when I come back and I'll grab the clips, put them all together, and then that's what you guys see on the back end here. A lot of work goes into these decodes. And this one was just as profound as some of the other decodes that I've done. And it confirms some of the investigations that we've done on the channel. Specifically, that copper blue-blooded crabs are associated with the serpent. What you're going to actually see here is them say those exact words. Not me making it up, not me interpreting it that way, but that the crab is the serpent. Now this has subtitles, so I'm going to read these to you. So the sound isn't very important in this particular decode because they're speaking in a foreign language. But there's even much more to this film than just them stating that the crab is the serpent. Now, let me give you the backdrop before we get into some of these clips. So, the main character in this, as you can see on the left side of your screen, she's an actress named Noomi Rapace. And you've seen her before because she played in one of the Alien movies. I think it was Alien Prometheus or Alien Covenant. And she plays like a scientist. She's impregnated with the black goo DNA, the black crab. And she has to scurry into some kind of automated surgery center to have this thing automatically removed by an AI robot from her womb. So, this is the history of Noomi Rapace. She also played in another film called Fractured, in which she finds herself trapped in some kind of bizarre laboratory run by a cult who's trying to split her mind off so that she can basically house an alien being within her. So now you see the pattern of the roles that she plays, and this role is no different. Black Crab. So in this film, she's a soldier trying to reunite with her daughter after they were separated during a world war. Noomi then is conscripted and she's forced to fight under the threat of death. And it all happens in Eastern Europe. And I'm sure this is all starting to sound very familiar. Now understand, this movie was filmed long before the current conflict in Eastern Europe. And yet here we see some of the same things that happen in the movie happen in the film. In this case, it's a woman of fighting age who's being forced to fight. Same thing is happening in the Ukraine right now. with men. Men of fighting age are not allowed to leave the country, or at least those were the initial reports coming from mainstream media, admitting that when families tried to leave and evacuate and escape, the men were held back. A pop stick was thrown into their hands and they were told to defend their country. Now, Numi ends up being selected for a mission that they say could end the war. As her side begins losing badly, their home base or home bunker gets bombed, and they tell her, here's your mission, all or nothing. Skate across a half-frozen lake for hundreds of kilometers, transport these 2 canisters to a remote bunker on the other side of this long lake to our people on the other side. And the operation was called Operation Black Crab. She's told not to open the canisters, and she's sent with a team of like 5 or 6 people. But they find out later what's inside. A biological weapon. Now, this should also sound very familiar to you because Russia is accusing the US and Ukraine of working on biological weapons in the dozens or maybe hundreds of labs across Ukraine that we funded in conjunction with our Defense Department. But then you have the US pointing the finger right back at Russia, saying that, oh, they're just saying all this because they're the ones who want to use biological weapons. So, suffice it to say, at some point, somebody's going to launch these off, aren't they? And they'll just blame the other side because it's already been set up to do so. So let's pick up from there and let's get into this montage. Let's start playing this. I'm going to read this to you. We're no crab, buddy. So, who are these 2 guys? Well, one of the guys on our team gets shot and he starts talking all crazy. As you're going to hear him describe, he describes the Ouroboros. He says that they aren't black crabs, they are the serpent. And the 2 are really synonymous, aren't they? Because the word for copper in Hebrew sounds just like the word for serpent. Nakosheth is copper, Nakash is serpent, and copper also means unclean in the Bible. We're no crab, buddy. We're a serpent. And here comes the serpent's head. A serpent. A serpent. The serpent that's eating itself. The beginning of the end. Now, what does all this mean? Well, this is the enemy, the devil's rendition of the prison that he's trapped in. Okay? He wants there to be hopelessness. He wants there to be despair. He doesn't want you to know that you can escape the time prison, that you can escape the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail. He doesn't want you to know any of that because he's trapped here indefinitely. So it is hopeless for him until the day of judgment. The only time he has is the time between the beginning and the end, which is coming very, very soon. You and I get to live beyond that if we believe in Jesus Christ. So, if you didn't know any of this and I wasn't explaining it to you, you'd probably feel very hopeless about what this guy's talking about, that all this is pointless. It's a big waste of time. Why even live when we're all just born, we live, we die. Most people die unhappy. What's the point? Well, we know what the point is. Now, let's keep going because the team then stumbles upon this cruise ship. It's frozen in the ice. and they take shelter there because they realize they're being followed across the ice. They get shot at a couple times. But then they want to leave this injured guy behind, the guy that was talking about the Ouroboros, because he got shot. He's going to slow them down. But one of these guys, the guy you see here in the center, doesn't want to leave him because he's his friend. He protests leaving him, and then he threatens to open the canister to make everybody stop and wait for this guy. Well, look above his head. It's a serpent in a circle, eating its own tail.
Lägg ner kapseln! Ska du skjuta?
They're like, put it down. Are you going to shoot me?
Granvik.
He opens it up, and inside is the bioweapon.
Vad är det för något? Right, så ja.
They told us what it is. Give it to me. And there you see the serpent eating its tail. But look at the shape. That's an octagon, isn't it? Now, look what's below. A globe. And he can't get out. Now, I don't believe this is the true shape, but they have to keep reinforcing this, right? Now, of course, it's the disco globe from a disco that was once on the cruise ship. And this is just some kind of decoration. Maybe it lit up the dance floor. Maybe there used to be lights in here. But the symbolism, the spiritual symbolism here is uncanny. Hiding in plain sight that 99% of people would not pick up on. You could also make an argument for the two pillars, or there's actually 4 pillars surrounding the globe here. And the true shape is probably what's on the ceiling here, right? Now, let's keep watching here.
Slutet på krig.
So this guy explains it's the end of the war.
Yeah.
There's the biological agent there. Let's see if there's any clues on here. 17 PS 19. Oh, so we got ourselves a 19 there, don't we? And a 17. And let's see what else is on here. The biohazard symbol, of course. Highly contagious. It's interesting how they put these words in English. The rest of the words are in foreign language, right? So, is that suggesting something? That this is going to be an English-born pathogen? I don't know. But you got to look at these little clues, because this is the kind of stuff that they hide these things in.
Ett virus.
Some sort of virus.
Biologiskt vapen.
Biological weapon.
Det är inte slutet
It's not the end of the war.
på kriget. Det är slutet på allting.
It's the end of everything. Now, if you were to watch this on Netflix, they'll translate this for you if any of you wanted to watch this movie. It's not a horrible movie. It's probably, I would give it a 7 out of 10, maybe a 6.5. But for those of us that see the symbolism, it's more like an 8. But, you know, there isn't too much graphic stuff that you need to worry about. And there is some symbolism in it if you wanted to watch this in English, because it's subtitled, not subtitled, but it's dubbed. Now, let's keep going here, because Numi wants to finish the mission despite the discovery of what they were actually transporting, which is the biological weapon. And her motivation is that in the beginning of this, before the mission started, she was told that after she completed her mission, she would be reunited with her daughter. They gave her a picture of her daughter and told her that, hey, we found her. She's on the other side. Once you get to the bunker, you'll be reunited with her if you just do this one thing for us. But the rest of the group disagrees with her, and they want to destroy the weapon. Watch. While Rod and the others hide in their bunkers, the virus spreads with the refugees. Millions will die. It's the end of everything. It isn't a weapon against the enemy. It's a weapon against us all. Now, let's keep going because there's more. Because what's in the weapon is not described. They don't really specifically say what's inside of it. But it's safe to assume that it has something to do with blue blood, reptilians, and copper, based on the name of the movie, based on them saying that the blue crab is not a blue crab at all, or black crab is not a black crab at all, that it's a serpent. Suffice it to say, the bioweapon in this movie has something to do with this. Now, by the end of the movie, the actors have an epiphany. Same epiphany we've had. We've had on yesterday's show, in fact, we were talking about it. That if there is no one left to fight their wars, then wars wouldn't exist, would they? Problem is that everybody has to agree. Watch.
Det enda sättet att vara fri.
The only way to be free in this war
I det här jävla kriget. Det är att vägra
is to refuse to obey their orders.
följa deras ord. Vägra göra
Refuse to do as they say.
som de säger.
Ja, de ljuger.
They lie about everything. They lied about Vanja, which is her daughter. They lied about freedom.
Som jag om Vanja. Frihet.
So, they sit here and tell you in Hollywood, they tell you the truth. But people think this is fiction. So, they disregard what they're being told as the truth. It's really shocking to me how you can still find so many people in the right-left paradigm when Hollywood is sitting here showing you the answers to stop all this. And it'll never happen. The Bible says it won't happen. All this has to happen. In other words, a lot of people are deceived. And that's just the way it is. So, Numi makes it outside with the biological weapon strapped to this grenade here. And she ends up jumping off of like a bridge and destroying it so that it won't be unleashed onto the world. Except, I fear that it already has been, or is in the process of being released onto the world.
Gör inte där er. Säkra granaten.
Secure the grenade.
Chans att börja om.
We get a chance to start over. That lady looked like Marina Abramovich, didn't she?
Kort övergångstid.
A short transition time and then it's over.
Och så är det över. Vi är på samma
We're on the same side.
sida er.
Men först måste
But first, everything has to end, right?
allting ta slut, eller hur?
And that's it. Now, we are going to further break down this movie. Because there's a lot more to it. It released on March 18th. Which just so happens to be the 77th day of the year with 288 remaining. What does that mean? Well, that's the sun and moon Ouroboros cycles. You know, the figure 8 pattern that forms in the sky throughout the year that both the sun and the moon follow. This is where we get the number 88, meaning time and space. It's called an analemma. Let's look it up. And here are some images of it. And both the sun and the moon follow this, as you can see. Forms an 88 in the sky. And I believe the reason why they form this 88 in the sky is because of how the Earth got locked into the time cycle prison after the fall of man. Now, watch this. Numi's name, her last name, means sun and moon. We're going to break this down. Her whole name means sun and moon. Let's break down her last name, because on its face, her last name, Rapas, means predatory raptor. But we know that the sky god Horus has a raptor's head, a falcon, and that his eye was the sun, wasn't it? We also know that Ra is the sun god. Rapus, Ra. So in effect, her last name contains both Horus, the sky god, and Ra, the sun god. Now we're going to back up a little bit and have some fun, because I just decoded the last name for you. And now we're going to decode the first name, but you guys are going to do the decoding. Let me zoom this up. We just described to you the sun, but I didn't say anything about the moon yet, did I? So, what does her first name mean? Let's see who gets it first. Now, you're going to have to key into some of the studies we've done on how to decode things. I'll give you that clue. What's up with her first name? Let me spell it for you. Are you ready? Let's see who gets it. Someone's going to get it. You guys are smart. Jordan says moonchild. Yes. Rebecca got it. Good job, Rebecca. Rebecca always gets it right first. Rebecca says her name backwards is I Moon. Now it's funny because on a spiritual level, we replaced the word immunity with I Moon the city, didn't we? And it was funny because we were like, that's just funny because mooning the city, right? Because that's what we all want to do. And so now here it comes full circle in this woman's name, which backwards is I Moon. So her first name is I Moon. And let me type it out for you guys because I know it's a little bit confusing. So all right. So equals I Moon and Ra and Horus. That's what her name means. The sun and the moon. Now you got to ask yourself, was this her birth name? Was this given to her? I don't know. Let's just click on her thing here. It doesn't say what her name was when she was born. Oh, it says here Norin was maybe her original name. So, like Hollywood likes to do, because this is sorcery and voodoo, right? So they have to give these people names that seem to reflect the path that they want to take them on. She was also in the girl with the dragon tattoo. So you see the theme here. You see the theme here. 42 years old, that's the God number. 42, the answer to the universe. And she's been in a lot of stuff, hasn't she? So, great job to Rebecca, who got that first. So, that's pretty much what I had for you guys today. It was a little bit of a short decode today. But we'll be back on here tomorrow. We're going to track this whole Chernobyl thing, because it needs to be tracked and looked at, because I believe we're heading down a path. The whole biological weapon thing might be a bait and switch, and really this could be about Chernobyl and some kind of nuclear event. I don't know, but this is what iPetGoat 2 is showing, or seems to be showing, with the purple radiation sickness. Crazy times, you guys. Let's go back into the chat for a little bit before we get off of here. See what you guys are up to. Did anybody else get the answer around the time Rebecca did? I'm just curious. Good morning. Good morning, Mac TV, always censored. Eric, Marcy, Redeemed by Linda, Feminine Slayer, Tanae, Tom. Yeah, there's something wrong with the YouTube today. They're not counting things correctly. It's probably some kind of cyber attack, but that's what they'll say it is. If you go to the down detector, they will show it. they'll show what the problem is with YouTube. I can't imagine it's only on our end. It's probably all the way across YouTube. We were lucky to even be able to be live today. I know a lot of you guys were praying for the show to be able to go live. All right. Okay, some of you are showing 900. Love all of you guys too. Much love. Yeah, we hit 106,000 subscribers. It just trickling along, you know. It's been very slow growth for the channel over the past year, I would say. But hey, the people that need to see this channel are seeing the channel. And at least we're still here. A lot of channels lost their ability to speak. So we got to count our blessings, don't we? EA says Numi active since 1988. All right. Some of you are going to go back and watch the series or watch the film. Yeah, the count's all over the place, from 3 to 500 to 800 to 900. I think the close to 1,000 is the correct count, because it's about how many of you guys tune in every day. 947 says Sissy. Kept saying the video had been removed. Wow. Sabotage, right? Have any of you been to the down detector to see exactly what's going on? Thanks, Redeemed. All right. Okay, you guys. Well, I love each and every one of you, and I will be back tomorrow. And I've got some new information on Chernobyl. There's been some updates, some damage done because of the conflict there. There have been some fears. There's like a forest fire going on over there that they're afraid of, and everything else. So thanks, Mystery School, for becoming a channel member. Much appreciated. I love you guys, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care and be safe.